and talked about the need for an economic stimulus package, which will be big and bold and something unlike probably our nation has seen for some time. And there will probably not be a lot of argument about the core principles of it and the belief that we need to get our economy and our markets moving again. But one of the reasons that we're here today is that we live in a time where there are some people who are so voiceless and so vulnerable, and they often tend to be children, that there are not markets that exist to serve them in the first place. There aren't economic markets for feeding hungry kids. And so that's why, as important as this economic stimulus package is, as important as federal leadership is, to have a state, public and private partnership between the state, between Share Our Strength, with the Department of Agriculture, with Maryland Hunger Solutions, is absolutely vital to eradicating the notion of hunger in our community. We find ourselves also at a time of dramatically increasing unemployment. We can predict what the effect of that will be on hungry kids, of significant increase in food stamp usage, of actually even increase, not in this state, thank goodness, but in many other states, of infant mortality, almost all related to childhood hunger and childhood nutrition and maternal nutrition issues. That's the reason that Share Our Strength has been so excited about this partnership. What we think it can mean is the opportunity to, as the governor said, really knock down the barriers to access to public nutrition and food assistance programs. It's so important to understand that we don't have children in this country who are hungry because America lacks food, or even because America lacks food and nutrition programs. We have kids who are hungry because they lack access to existing food and nutrition programs. I can't think of a sadder or lamer excuse for having hungry kids. I know the governor agrees with that, and that's why his leadership on this issue is so promising in terms of our ability to actually end childhood hunger. What we try to do at Share Our Strength, and we've been at this for more than 20 years now, is not just fund emergency food assistance organizations like the Food Bank, which provide vital food to families who are in need, or fund school lunch and breakfast programs, or fund advocacy efforts. We actually try to go into communities here and increasingly in other states now. In addition to Maryland, we're also now working in Illinois, Florida, and Washington State. I believe all inspired, frankly, by the governor's leadership, to go in and organize and understand what those barriers are to these kids having access. The principal told me earlier today that some 90% of the kids in this school get free and reduced school lunch, and some 80% school breakfast, and there would actually be kids here who would not have the nutritional requirements that they needed if it weren't for these programs. So that's what Share Our Strength is about, really surrounding kids where they live, work, learn, and play with all of the vital necessities that they can have so that they are not hungry. And we believe that between the governor's leadership, between President Obama's commitment, President-elect Obama's commitment to ending childhood hunger by 2015, that this is a battle, as the writer Jonathan Kozol said, that is important enough to matter but small enough to win. We're not tilting at windmills here. This is a victory that we are on the cusp of, and it requires the kind of leadership that I think you've seen here today. In that regard, let me just introduce another terrific leader, somebody who has been just a tireless advocate for education. Your state superintendent of schools, Dr. Nancy Grasmick, has innovated not just in education, but in this area of feeding kids as well, that intricately linked together. She is, I believe, the longest serving appointed superintendent in the country, a wealth of knowledge and experience, and adds to just this incredible leadership pool. So I'm going to ask Dr. Grasmick to come up.
Good afternoon on this day of a very, very exciting announcement. I'd like to say we couldn't have selected a better site than Highlandtown Elementary Middle School. We're so proud of the achievements of these students here at Highlandtown. But we do know something about hunger. We know that when children are hungry, they're not going to achieve at their full potential. We also know that their attendance will not be as good, and we know that there will be behavioral problems based on that hunger. So the combination of those factors inhibit all the potential of these wonderful children. We're proud at the State Department of Education to be part of this announcement, Governor. Thank you very much for taking the lead on this. And to you, Mr. Shore, thank you for not only your work and endorsement of what's happening here in Maryland, but across this country. We are excited at the State Department of Education because we have a whole effort devoted to school nutrition. And I'd like to introduce the two people who've been major in terms of planning this, because they've seen all of these children's faces before them and wanted these children to receive the kind of nutrition they deserve. Robin Ziegler and Adrian Burrows, please raise your hand. You deserve a lot of praise. This, of course, is a collaborative effort, and as was mentioned by the governor, could not occur by one department alone, but it is the strength of this collaboration that is going to make this possible. And speaking of collaboration, let me say we are really in for a treat, boys and girls. There is a man here with us today who serves in the Congress. Who knows where the Congress is? Congress of the United States. Do you know what? Yes. Washington, D.C. And this is a man who's a lawyer. Do any of you want to be a lawyer? Okay, well, he is a lawyer, but you know what? For 8 years, he said, I really, really care about children, and I especially care about children in Maryland. And so he especially cared about children in Maryland, and then he especially cared about children in Baltimore City. And he came to work with me. I was so lucky to have him working with me for 8 years. And now he's in the position of working with our new president and really helping to make some of these laws happen that will benefit all of the children within our state and our country. And that's Congressman John Sarbanes. So it's a joy to introduce him today. Please join me in welcoming this exceptional man.